Hello everyone, my name is Bharat and I'm cybersecurity analyst at InfosecTrain, and welcome to the webinar of importance of threat intelligence with referring to CTIA, that is your certified threat intelligence analyst, which is one of the certifications from EC Council. So let me brief you guys a little bit about myself. So I'm just sharing my profile. There are multiple people who already know me, those who do not know me. Guys, my name is Bharat and I'm working in field of information security from last I would say 6+ years, and I'm into this IT field from last 8+ years. So overall, I'm having near about 7 to 8 years of experience into this IT and security field. And mostly, if we talk about like information security, my profile is more over bended towards the technical part of the information security instead of the management part of the information security overall. So technically, when I say technical part, technically I'm more over bended towards the penetration testing, threat intelligence, forensics. I'm more towards those parts where we have to do the things, right? Instead of like monitoring the things, we have to do the things. So mostly these are the points which you guys can see over here at the right hand side, which covers my educations and certification. So I have certified almost in the very famous entire belt of EC Council. There are multiple certifications, but the famous certifications you guys can see over here, CEH, which is one of the very famous one. We do also have CND. So these are the certifications: CND, CEH, CHFI, ECSA, ECIH, CTIA, which I'm certified in from EC Council. CompTIA, which is also one of the renowned security certificate vendors. I do have certificates in three of the major certificates of CompTIA for security. That is your Security Plus, CYSA Plus, and Pen Test Plus. And if I brief about myself as the and trainer and consultant, so I have taken almost now 50 to 60 plus of successful lectures, and which do covers the topics which I have in my certifications, that is CH and all of them. Apart from it, guys, I also do take the customized trainings. Customized trainings involves your advanced penetration testing. It involves your MITRE attack training. It involves your different types of like customized courses. We do get requirements, so there are multiple customized courses which I do deliver as well. So this is most of my profile over here. I will be sharing my LinkedIn profile in the end, plus my contact number and our team's email address and my email address. So anytime if you guys want to reach us out, you can use any of these references. So that was overall a brief about my profile. So I hope all of you guys know about InfosecTrain. We are one of the leaders in IT security training solutions, and we also do the consultancy as well. One of the leaders in the IT security and consultancy and training sections, InfosecTrain. You all are aware about the our organization already. So here's just a little brief about our organization. We do have a very good team at InfosecTrain, which is handling and taking care of mostly all the certificates related to IT and security. You just name it, we are delivering it. So there are a number of certifications and knowledge transfers which we are providing at the moment. Apart from training, we also are having the consulting solutions which we are providing as a part of our service. Now this will be the today's agenda of our slide, and which will be covering these little 6 points. Apart from these points, we will be discussing a lot since the session is going for 4 hours. We will be wrapping up at 11 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So this is the moreover agenda for us which we will be doing today. Before that, let's discuss guys about the basics before we start, right? Before we go to the slides, I do not want you guys to get yourself bored just seeing the slides. So we will be discussing the basics, right? So guys, I do have a habit of asking a lot of questions, so in case any of you find difficulty, do let me know, right? So there are these terms which I'm writing over here. Any of you can tell me the difference between these three terms? We do have data, information, and we do have intelligence, which is our main area of focus for tonight. How you guys can differentiate these three terms? Okay, I got one answer that processed data is information. Then what is data? Data are raw facts. Very good. So we can call it as a processed information. Processed data can be an information. What about intelligence? Anyone over here for intelligence? Meaningful information. We can pretty much relate to it. Meaningful information, of course, there is an absolutely wisdom knowledge. There is a term which we will be giving before that to intelligence. Before that, let me show you guys a small example to differentiate data versus information versus intelligence. So what I do over here is I just write trace date. So this is the today's date and I'm stretching it out up till 13th, right? So if I just like, if we do not know and you somewhere on a random blog just see these lines, does it makes any sense to you that why I have written these dates? No, right? Because as of now, I haven't basically mentioned that what for what reason these dates are being mentioned, right? What if I mention something like this, list of holidays? Now, a person can think about it that this entire thing might be the list of holidays, right? That can be thought. But now, what if I do like the first one was data, right? Which was unprocessed. As soon as I written this list of holidays, it becomes information because it is an understandable data, right? That part is information. Now, how we will be converting this information to an intelligence, that will be our part which we will be talking about in entire CTIA program. So CTIA starts from the data collection, then we move towards the information, and in the end we are making that information into something actionable on which I can take my actions. I can either implement the controls, I can either remove the controls, either I can purchase the security equipment, either I can remove the old security equipments, either can I can upgrade to the security. So on the basis of which I can take the actions, that's what we will be calling intelligence. So intelligence will always be called as your actionable data, actionable information, right? On which you can take the actions. Just as an example over here, what if I highlight something like this? Like 5th and 6th are your holidays or your weekends. That means that will be your holidays, right? And we also do have weekends again back on 12th and 13th, right? Now it makes sense that from this entire list and information, the highlighted colors are the list of holidays which we are having, isn't it? So that basically sums up to your intelligence over here, right? So this is what we how we differentiate the data and information and intelligence, right? So this will be, guys, our agenda for today, and this is how we will be keep changing from slides to paint and paint to slides, and this is how we will be moving towards the entire thing. So before like moving deeper into threat intelligence and everything, let me introduce you guys to the code CTIA. What exactly CTIA is? As I mentioned, CTIA, it's your Certified Threat Intelligence Analyst program, which is being designed and developed by EC Council, one of the renowned vendors providing the IT security certifications. Right. So majorly the entire CTIA program is being developed to help the all the organizations or all the professionals in order to understand that why and how threat intelligence is important and how it will be helping your organization to go one step ahead to the attackers, to your adversaries, and protect your organization's assets against them, right? So that's why we do have the entire course for CTIA. So in this CTIA course, guys, we do have n number of modules. The module goes around 6 in total, and it starts with very basic of threat intelligence. Like over here you will be in module 1. I'm just giving you guys a little bit brief about all these modules. So in module 1 you will be mostly talking about the threats, types of threats, how threats are being realized, what is different between the threat and vulnerability, and all of these part will be part of your these modules. You will be understanding the intelligence part, and you will be moving towards, like in module 1 you will be moving towards the threats in every other parts. The next part, which says cyber threats, over here you will be talking as various types of threats like environmental, structural, accidental, all the types of threats, then who might bring threat to your organization. And then we do have very famous terminology, that is your kill chain methodology. When we talk about kill chain methodology, I hope most of you guys have heard about cyber kill chain. All those who haven't, we will be discussing it today as well, a brief about this kill chain methodology and how we can use it and implement it in order to understand all the steps which our attackers do to compromise the infrastructure. From the very start, how attackers collect the information, to end how they achieve their objectives. We will be talking about those in a small note. Then the third part, basically it is your pre-collection process where you do first of all analyze the requirements for your organization. Like threat intelligence can be is available for healthcare sectors, it's available for telecommunications, it's available for, let's say, government sector, it's available for financial sector. So threat intelligence is available for all the different sectors. But what if you are only from telecommunications? So these threat intelligence are not really necessary for you. So you will be first of all starting with the requirement, what kind of threat intelligence your organization is requiring. For that requirement, you will be planning how you will be collecting, from where you will be collecting. All of these part will be part of your planning and direction. And then in the end, you will be reviewing your entire TI program. Whatsoever you have designed from requirement to direction, you will be reviewing it before you implement it. So once you implement it, the next module comes into the picture. That will be your collection. You will be collecting bulk of data, right? Chunk of data will be collected by threat intelligence analyst or threat intelligence officers. Those chunks of data will be collected in different formats. To make those different formats into one common formats that your organization uses, you will be doing processing, which involves your normalization of your data. So what you will be doing is you will be doing indexing. You will be just like converting those data into a particular format which will be useful for you. That will be part of your processing. The next part, from data to information, you will be doing data analysis. And then in analysis, the second part will be on the basis of which you will be taking actions. That will be your intelligence reporting. And then once you create the intelligence report, you do disseminate means sharing. In the end, you are sharing the data as well. So that is your overall CTIA course, which is of these 6 modules. All right. So moving further, when we talk about CTIA examination 31285, it comprises of 50 MCQ based questions. That will be for, you will be having 2 hours to complete those 50 MCQ based questions, and out of which you need to complete at least 70% of those in correct answers in order to clear the exam. The exam is not that much tough, but it will be thoroughly requiring the entire sessions and entire slides knowledge before you attempt the exam. So almost 35 questions you guys have to attempt correct in order to clear your exam. And mostly at InfosecTrain, all those who are getting the exam cleared, they are getting almost above 48 to 50. So exams, basically our approach at InfosecTrain, it goes around in same manner where we do for all the courses for CTIA as well. It goes around in same manner. With the classes itself, we keep discussing the questions at the end of every class, so that you guys also get yourself prepared for the examination before you apply or appear for your exams. So you do have only 50 questions. It's a very small exam as compared to the other courses. And even this particular course track, if I talk about this CTIA course track, it is just only for 24 hours. The entire course program is for 24 hours only. That means it will be either in 6 days or 4 hours each day, right? So either it can be weekend or weekday. So we are just having this particular course for 24 hours only. So that is all about CTIA
Would
examination as
be
well. The type of questions, Mr. Carlo, you will be finding will be your MCQ based questions, which will be moreover the theoretical questions only, where you do have 4 options given, out of which either you have to select 1 or 2 relevant options, depending on the questions, whether you have to select 2 or just 1 only. So it will be just like 1 out of 4 which you have to select. There will be options given to you, and it won't be a practical exam, it will be a theoretical exam only, right? And then you guys might be thinking, for this, why I should do CTIA, why not another things? So to answer your why, I have just created a small slide. Basically, when we talk about the incidents, right? And when the incident starts in the organizations, as soon as the incident applies, we do respond to that incident. That is your process of your incident response and handling team, right? But what if I say that I'm introducing one new segment into the organization which will be helping you to get alert before the incident happens? Let's say your organization is prone to one of the APT groups, let's say 29, right? And now your organization is prone to APT. They might have attacked the similar organization in your field, and your organization is prone to APT 29. What you can do of that particular group? You cannot stop using the systems to stop that attack, right? At that time, threat intelligence will be the only thing which will be helping you from stopping the APT group to attack, right? So why CTIA? If I answer this why CTIA is question mark, because before you implement the TI program, your organization is in the reactive mode. It goes around in the reactive mode. That means the attack will happen and then you will be attacked. happens and then you respond to that attack, right? But when we talk about threat intelligence once being introduced, you will be bringing your organization into a proactive approach before where before the attack happens you are collecting the information about the attackers. Let's say ABC people will be hacking you out, so CTIA will be helping you out in collecting the information about ABC people. How do they attack, what kind of tools they use, what are the websites from which these kind of attacks come. So all of these things you will be collecting and you will be feeding to your systems in your organization. It can include your firewalls, it can include your IDS, IPS, it can include your SIM tools. So all of these information will be shared to your defensive mechanisms. So what they will be doing is they will be like monitoring on all these data which you have collected and you have shared to these tools. They will be keep monitoring on all these data. So as soon as ABC comes into your organization, ABC as an attack comes into your organization, these will be alerting you out that ABC is over here, please do check. And once you check, you can block that particular attack. So from reactive to I would say proactive, you will be able to manage via CTIA. So that is why I would say that CTIA is quite important for an organization overall or for an employee overall. So guys, our next point, which is like how CTIA will be helping us in blue teaming professional to a blue team professional, all those who are not aware about like the blue teaming, let me introduce you guys exactly what blue teaming is. So we do have in our organizations the red team, the blue team. Like there are multiple categories to team, but I will be majorly talking about these four teams, right? White team and purple team. These are the four major teams which can be further divided into different teams. But if we talk about red teamers, those are the offensive players, those who hack into the organization in order to find out the loopholes in the organization, right? Blue teamings are the defensive players, those will be defending your organization against the red teaming activities, right? These days organizations are adapting the war games scenarios where they put both the teams in front of each other. They ask blue team to defend the attacks and they ask red teams to attack the organization, and then blue teams are being asked to defend those attacks which red teams are doing. In order to make the security more robust, they are using these kind of approaches. So blue team and red team goes around offensive and defensive. So in red team, I will be breaking into the system security to find out the loopholes, flaws and vulnerabilities so that I can patch them. Defensive side where it will be in case like an attack has been started, how I will be stopping it, or let's say how I will be stopping the attacker to collect the information about my organization. So that will be the part of a blue teamer. White teamer will be the referee. He will be the player who will be deciding and all the rules in the entire thing. It can be like say let's say your CTO or your CISO or your CEO. It will be the person who will be monitoring the red teamers and the blue teamers, right? And we do have purple teamer, that is your combination of red plus blue teamer. So mostly a dual job role for a single person will be making it as a red teamer, and mostly organizations who adapt these kind of teamers when they are having various different issues, maybe of budget and different issues to their data secrecy or to their like data privacy, they do hire these kind of people. So that is your teaming. Now when we talk about CTIA, how CTIA helps the organizations in all of these parts. So CTIA is helping the organizations overall, right? The threat intelligence is giving the benefits to all the shapes and sizes of organizations, right? Not just a small scale organization, not I would say big four. It will be giving you the information and it will be helping you to process your data for better understanding your attackers, right? So you will be able to like respond faster in case of incident happens. When you know who is going to attack you, you will be able to collect the data about the person who will be attacking you. So next time that person comes with an attack, you will be able to proactively go ahead of that particular, I would say, threat actor, and you will be able to stop that particular person's moves, right? Let's say there is a threat actor. I'm just writing it over here. There is a threat actor who is having capability of running automated scans, right? And is having very low budget. All these information you will be able to collect via threat profiling. I will be talking about that in next point. Having low budgets, just run automated scans and does not have custom exploits, right? So you can call this person as a script kiddie. If you see the definition of script kiddie, the person who does not have technical knowledge cannot write their own scripts, and having low budgets that mostly rely on the automated tools. That sums up to a script kiddie. If you are prone to get attacked by a script kiddie, you can implement security. You can collect information about the script kiddies. You can implement security controls over all of them, and you can stop the script kiddies to get the information about your organization, right? So that is how you can eliminate your attacker. It was just for a script kiddie. Now what if there is an organized criminal which is having no issues to budget, having multiple custom exploits, 0 days can also be raised, runs various different techniques, tools, services, paid tools as well, and unknown tools as well. So at that time, what you will be doing? So your CTIA will be helping you out in collecting the information which will be known to you, which will be even unknown to you, right? So how CTIA will be just helping us in blue teaming, which is moreover focus. So the focus of CTIA goes around. So as I mentioned, threat profile is always necessary to assess the security, right? So if you will be able to create a threat profile, that means you will be able to create a profile of a person who is going to attack you. You will be easily able to put the mitigation techniques against that particular attackers, through which you can block the chances of your cyber attack, right? So by focusing on the most relevant threats which will be coming to your organization, or by mitigating those threats in advance, you will be able to maintain your cybersecurity posture of your organization. And implementing the threat profile, you will be able to change your organization's security posture from reactive one to the proactive one, because in reactive one you are waiting for the incident to happen, right? But in proactive one, you are applying the chances to block the cyber attack by pinpointing towards the weakness of your infrastructure. That let's say you are using SMB services, so SMB service is having one of the attacks, right? Let's say you are using SMB version 1, which was prone to WannaCry ransomware eternal blue exploit, right? So your threat intelligence will be able to help you out in order to find that particular loophole, and you will be able to patch it, right? So that no one can use that particular vulnerability to attack your organization, right? And for all those who are new to these terminologies, let's discuss. There are a couple of terminologies. There is threat we will be discussing. Let's talk about vulnerability. So these are few of the terminologies which you will be seeing in your CTIA again and again. And apart from it, the two terminologies which are the part you will be able to see over here, that is your IOCs and your TTPs. So when we talk about vulnerability, vulnerability is something which is we can call as a weakness, right? A weakness or flaw or loophole can be called as vulnerability, right? And then after vulnerability, we can even also talk about exploit. So exploit is something which harness the vulnerability, right? Which takes the advantage of your vulnerability. Let's say you are having a vulnerability of telnet, right? You are having your telnet port open, so that is vulnerability in your design system, right? And now I do have an exploit through which I can take the remote session from your telnet, right? So that is your exploit. Now when we talk about risk can be, moreover we can call it as a likelihood or probability, isn't it? So when we talk about likelihood or probability, it will be something which can happen, which cannot happen. Like let's say there are chances that your organization is going to be attacked by a hacker group, right? So there are 50% chances, or there are 0% chances, or there are 95% chances that your organization is going to be attacked, right? So there is a probability it might happen, might not happen. So that is what we call risk, right? There is a risk that security threat will be realized or not, right? So that's what we call risk. Then we do have assets. Assets, so I can call it anything which adds value to organization can be your asset, right? Anything which adds value to your organization can be your asset. Then we do have controls. So your controls will be your countermeasures. or we can also call it like the mechanisms through which we can implement the security in order to stop the attacks, right? So we can also call it the mitigations, right? Those are controls. Then guys, we do talk about threats. Any idea threats, what we can call as a threat? So as I mentioned, that asset is anything which can add value to your organization. So can I call threat as something which can change the value of your asset? Let's say your asset is having a critical data which might do cost you, let's say 80 grand, right? So in case like if I'm able to like compromise that particular server in which your data was there and now it's been doxed out, so you will be having legal impact, financial impact, operational impact, all of these, right? So I was threat to your organization because I was having capability to change the value of your asset, right? So anything which can change the value, or change in particular, I'm mostly talking about decrease, right? Anything which can decrease the value of assets. Assets can be tangible, intangible. It can be human resource. It can be like your systems, your workstations, your server, your data. Anything can be which adds value to the organization can be your assets, right? So a threat can be entity which do possesses the capability of decreasing the value of your assets can be your threats. We can call it as a threat to your organization, right? Then we do have attacks. So we can call it ways to compromise the systems, can be attack against the system. Ways to compromise the assets can be your attacks, right? It can be like a social engineering if your asset is a human resource. If your asset is a Windows system, it can be custom Windows exploits, or it can be like any other tool which can be used for attacks. So or the entire way which is being used, that is your to compromise your system, that is your attack, right? Then we do have IOCs. Any idea about IOCs? IOCs first of all are known as your indicators of
Compromise.
compromise. So this is what guys you are going to learn in your CTIA. Indicators of your compromise is known as your IOCs, and what we exactly call as IOCs, like this was the definition, but as the definition suggests, these will be your evidences of attacks. It can be in different forms. IOCs are always there in different forms. So you can call your IOCs in formats. It can be like in form of hashes, file hashes, right? It can be in form of URLs, IPs. It can be in form of file types. In case there is a particular file type, it can be also in form of domain names. Also, it can be in form of TTPs, but mostly the IOCs which we talk about in threat intel, we are collecting these kind of information, right? In forms of URLs, IP addresses, hashes, domain names, etc. Right. So we'll be talking about that. I will be letting you guys know some example of IOCs, how you can see them, how you can collect them. And we do have TTPs, that stands for tactics, techniques, and procedures. Now, what are these tactics, techniques, and procedures? Let me give you guys a little brief about all three of them, because you're going to discuss these in detail in your CTIA codes and very much in depth. You will be always near about these TTPs in your CTIA codes. So tactics will be the way attacker attacks, right? So let's say there are various ways to get access to initial access to a system. Let's say I use a different way, you use a different way. So that is your tactic for initial access, and that is my technique for initial access. Let's say I prefer to do privilege escalation via SSH exploit, and you prefer to do that particular privilege escalation via exploiting the file permission systems file permission, right? So that is your tactic and that is my tactic. So the way attacker carries out the attack, that is your tactics. Now what kind of techniques they are using, that will be part of your tactic. Like for tactic can be initial access, right? And technique will be what you are doing in initial access. Let's say for initial access you are sending a spear phishing email, so that is your technique of your tactic initial access, right? So the ways attackers will be doing, what kind of ways they are doing, and what they will be using, and procedure will be the entire plan of attacker from start to end. That will be the procedure of the attack. So you will be understanding all these three parts in your CTIA program. Tactics, let me give you guys an example to this. Let's say information gathering. Right, you do have information gathering, so that is your one of the tactics through which attackers collect the information, right? Reconnaissance we also call. So for reconnaissance there are multiple ways, that is OSINT, that is using tools, interacting with employees, right? Also using commercial tools, paid services. So there are multiple ways, isn't it, through which you can collect the information, right? So when there are multiple ways through which you can collect the information, so your tactic will be information gathering, right? Your technique will be one of these which you will be selecting for doing this. And when you combine for information gathering, then for scanning, and then for, let's say, privilege escalation, then for like collecting the data or exploiting, that will be your entire procedure for attacker. Have you guys heard about MITRE attack? So MITRE attack is one of your platforms which you will be like little bit discussing in your this particular CTIA in depth in detail. There is a different codes to MITRE attack. If you want to understand this MITRE attack in detail, how you will be using that for collecting the TTPs, which is very most difficult task. Can you see the techniques available? So let me explain you all using these famous matrices. There are different matrices. So enterprise matrix is one of the very famous matrices which we will be using. So all these reconnaissance, resource development, and initial access, executions, persistence, privilege escalation, credential access, all these parts which you are seeing, these are nothing but your tactics, right? So there is one tactic with name of reconnaissance. In reconnaissance there is gather victim host information, active scanning, phishing information, search victim owned websites. All of these are the techniques for this particular tactic, right? Let's say I'm using this technique, and using this technique I am using closed source for collecting the information. So that is my technique. Your technique can be active scanning, right? The next part, let's talk about, like, let's say initial access. For initial access I do phishing, right? And you might do external remote services. You might use external or supply chain compromise, or you might use valid accounts for initial access, right? So that is your technique. So that is the difference between your tactics and techniques. And when you sum up to all these tactics and you select the techniques which can be used to do one particular type of tactic, right? That will be your entire procedure. Understood? So guys, these are like most of the things which discussing in your CTIA program. In depth and in detail, we will be discussing more over towards the IOCs, and we will be discussing more over towards the TTPs. Now let's discuss about the threats. So there are multiple various threats around us, and as I mentioned, a threat can be any entity which can change the value of your asset, or which can something which can pose loss to a part or all of your asset, can be a threat to your organization, right? Like we do have organized criminals, like these are the professional hackers who will be hacking your organization for monetary purpose, gain or fame, or for getting popular, or any other reason, maybe for a revenge. Maybe there is a different person from a different country which is having hatred for your country and hacking your website in order to like pass the message or something like that. So that is your organized criminal, right? A person who will be attacking for monetary purpose most of the times, who is very sophisticated, highly skilled, a group of hackers, or maybe I would say highly skilled person who is just doing the attack for monetary purpose gain, right? Either he can steal your data and provide it to anyone else. That is your organized criminal. So all these points, bullet points which I have included, these are known as your threat actors. So threat actors are the entity which brings the threat to the organization, right? Anyone, it can be your insider threat as well, right? Like your internal employee who is disgruntled, right? Who is disgruntled, who is not satisfied with his job or salary, or maybe having some issues with the organization, might sell your information to the competitor or might destroy your assets. That will be your insider threat, right? Then we do have state sponsored hackers. We all know that it is a saying that China is having their cyber army, Russia is having their cyber army, all of the countries are having their cyber army. Now, what is the cyber army? These are nothing but your state-sponsored hackers, which are hacking for the nation states to a different nation state. The one of the example which I can give, like mostly you guys might see in the news that Indian hackers hack the Pakistani websites, Pakistan hackers hacks the Indian website. So these are not actually sponsored by your nation states just to hack the website. Moreover, they will be hacking different countries in order to disrupt their system services or in order to do the espionage. So those are known as state sponsored hackers who are getting the benefit from the government to hack the another country's government, right? Then we do have hacktivist. You guys might have heard about hacktivist, or one of the very famous group of hacktivist with the name Anonymous. The persons, the hackers who are wearing the mask, Anonymous. I hope you guys might have heard. All those who haven't, you guys can search this term on internet, anonymous hackers. The person who wears some mask and mostly are known as your whistleblowers. Now, why we call them whistleblowers? So they mostly like do hack behind because of any agenda. Agenda can be anything, maybe a political issue or a social issue or any kind of agenda. They are mostly derived and motivated by a agenda. Those are known as your activists, right? Mostly they are very famous for defacing the websites. Like you guys remember, like there was a recent case in USA, Black Lives Matters. So in that campaign, Black Lives Matters, what happened was one of the hacker group basically like defaced the New York, not New York, the US Police Department's website. And once they defaced the website, they put a black screen over there and they put the person's photo who was dead, because of which the riot started. His name was, I believe, George Floyd. So his photo was there, and it was the message was written, "This website has been hacked in the memory of George Floyd." And then there was that hacker group's name. So like this, the activists do most of the times the activities, right? So those are known as activists, which are being derived by a agenda or motive. Then guys, we do have insider threats, which we already have discussed. Any disgruntled employee, even like not just disgruntled employee, let's say you are having a new intern who is not aware about the criticality of data in your server and just wipes out the drive which is having critical data in your server by mistake. So that will be also your insider threat, right? And then you do have script kiddies. These are the so-called hackers who do not have the proper prior knowledge about the exploits and anything. They just rely upon the exploits which actual hackers have created. They copy and paste those exploits and they use those exploits, right? So those are known as script kiddies, no technical knowledge. Then we do have APT groups. So there are multiple very famous APT groups as well. Like let me show you some of them over here. So APT groups are different types of threat groups which are associated. Let's say if I take you to APT group 3, so it is a China based threat group, right? Then APT group 29, Russian based threat group. So these are the groups which are working towards particular type of procedure and which are hacking the organization for a specific area. Let's say there will be an APT group which will be targeting UK based financial and government organizations. Organizations which are based out of UK and are related to the financial or the government bodies. There is one APT group which are attacking these organizations, right? So like this, there are different APT groups as well, right? Then guys, we do have different forms of threats. So when we talk about forms of threats, there are various different types of threats, right? Threats can come into various different types. Like they can be in form of adversarial threats, they can be in form of accidental, environmental, or insider threats, which I already have written earlier as well. So what will be adversarial threats? These will be your groups, as I mentioned, APT groups, or maybe an individual. Let's say if I'm hacking an organization as an individual, I will be also part of a adversarial group. There should be a motive or goal for which I should attack, right? So individual groups or an organization which are trying to take down the security of your organization, right? So these can be your adversarial threats. Guys, what is the meaning of adversary?
Malicious factors.
So anything which is opposite to your organization can be your adversary, right? It can be all of these threat actors can be your adversary. isn't it? Or anyone who is attacking, who is against you, can be your adversary. So when we talk about adversarial threats, it will be including anyone who is opposite to your organization. It can be a nation state hacker, it can be a malicious insider, it can be a competitor or a customer or a person who is just like hacking for knowledge, can be adversary because the person is acting against your organization, right? So that is known as your adversarial threats. Then we talk about accidental threats. So accidental threats, these kind of threats mostly occurs when things are like something wrong goes due to mistakes, right? Or like undermines of security. Let's say you haven't implemented the latest patch to your antivirus, due to which latest ransomware was able to compromise your system's security, right? So that is your accidental threats, where you accidentally forgotten to update your security patches, right? Or as I have earlier given example of your intern, the intern is not aware about the criticality or the importance of the data and does something which harms your data, that can be again an accidental threat, right? Then we do have environmental threats. So environmental threats, these kind of threats mostly goes around due to disasters or due to environment, right? Which is the outside of your control. You cannot control the flood, right? You cannot control the fires, you cannot control the power failures or the floods, right? So there are threats which are due to either man-made disasters or either the natural disasters which can affect your organization. So those are known as your environmental threats. Then insider threats, as I mentioned, like they can come from both internal, external resources. Let's say your ex-employee, which is not part of your organization. So anyone who is having like access to your assets, a part of access or entire access to your assets and gets disgruntled or rogue, can be a insider threat, right? The one threat which I haven't mentioned over here, you can also call it as your structural threat. So these kind of threats basically occurs when there is some sort of equipment or software failure, right? Let's say your CPU stopped working due to overheat, right? And your CPU was in like very hot climate, your servers were in very hot climate, they have stopped working due to overheat they have produced in because of lack of proper ventilation system, right? So those will be your structural threats. So they might come from IT components or maybe sometimes environmental control or some different sort of softwares. So those kind of threats are known as your structural threats. The next with point which we will be talking about will be the importance of threat intelligence in our organization's security posture. There are multiple ways in which threat intel helps in our in maintaining our organization's security posture. A number of ways are there in which it does helps. First of all, it starts with reducing the cost and the risk. So how it helps us in the reducing the cost. So these are the like points through which TI will be helping us in order to maintain the entire posture, security posture of our organization. Reduced cost, as let's say if there is a data breach, right? What kind of losses your organization will be facing? It can be lawsuit fees, right? In case of legal impacts are there. It can be fines, it can be incident remediation cost, it can be incident restoration cost, investigation expenses, or damage to the reputation or the market position due to which the loss is there. There are n number of losses, right? All the impacts will be coming into the picture and it will be increasing the cost for the organization, right, to cope up with that damage. So how CTIA will be helping us? It will be helping us to reduce the overall expense, right, from our business capital, right? So it will be saving our business capital for improving the security defenses when mitigation will be at the organization's risk, right? So how CTIA will be helping us? Because since in CTIA you will be collecting the information prior to the attack, right? You're not waiting for the attacker to attack, you are collecting the information prior to the attack. So you can implement the controls also as well. Let's say if I know that there is attack going to happen in my organization due to SMB service, right? Either I will be giving security to SMB service or I will be stop using SMB service, right? So that is your proactive approach, isn't it? So overall, it will be reducing the cost. Then it also reduces the risk. Now, how it will be reducing the risk, since we already know that there is like a number of ways which these criminals, cyber criminals are exploring, right? Like daily they are coming up with new ways, new techniques, isn't it? So CTIA will be providing us this entire course plus the in particularly threat intelligence will be providing us the all the visibility to the emerging threats, like what kind of tools they are using these days, what kind of procedures, what kind of attacks they are using these days, so that if we will be having prior knowledge that these things are being used, these are the hazardous things, we can block those things, we can stop those things from disrupting our business operations, right? So we can stop them also from like risk of our information loss as well, or for we can also like use them for maximizing our regulatory consent. So in all these ways, we can stop the risk, right? So it will be reducing the risk for us because we will be already knowing that these are the risks which are prevailing by the attackers these days in the market. Since we already know the risk, we can stop the or we can reduce those risks, right? By implementing the mitigation controls. Then the third point, that is your avoid loss of data. So loss of data in CTI, basically cyber threat intelligence, all the systems are acting as a monitor part, right? Like they are always monitoring as a watchdog, right? So whenever, let's say an example, a suspicious IP address or domain tries to communicate to your network, right? So what we are already done in CTI is we have collected that information, right? We have collected a list of IP addresses, suspicious IP addresses, and we have put that IP addresses on radar for monitoring. So next time when that like tries to connect to your network, you will be able to get the pop-up earlier itself, and you will be able to stop or prevent that particular IP from communicating. So neither they will be able to communicate, neither they will be able to infiltrate your network or steal your data, because you already know that this is the bad IP and you have blocked that particular IP as well, right? So that is your avoid loss of data. The next part, guys, goes around maximizing the staffing. So as your cyber threat intelligence program, CTI program, it will be improving the security team, right? It will be helping in incident and response. It will be helping in forensics part. It will be helping in testing, pen testing part. It will be overall improving the entire security of your organization, right? So for your security plus your security team, by combining the threat intelligence with various different kind of, let's say, tools, right? Flag tools. Now if you know that these are the flag tools which cannot be used in the organization, what you will be going to do is you will be putting them into blacklist, right? Or also like to lower your response time cost, and also to lower your cost, also to lower your response time. Earlier you were responding to the incident before it happens. Now the incident triggers, that means the attacker tries to communicate, you have the alarm, right? That attacker trying to communicate, so you can either divert that attacker to your like honeypots, or either you can stop that attacker, right? The next part comes is deepens the cyber intelligence analysis. Now how it will be doing the analysis? So threat intelligence will be helping us to analyze different techniques, right? Like all the techniques which attackers are using, so we can analyze like cyber threats, we can also create threat profiles, we can also determine that what kind of defensive mechanism needs to be implemented in order to block these kind of attacks, right? So let's say IDS is needed, IPS is needed, next gen firewall is needed. So when we know the types of attack which are going to happen, we will be already having the idea that what can be done to stop these kind of attacks, right? So it will be helping us over here as well. The last one is shares the threat intelligence. Sharing is always caring, as I mentioned, as like someone has mentioned, and sharing the crucial cybersecurity information, like how attackers attack, how attackers plan a breach. It might help others as well, right, from such attacks, and others also share these kind of information with us, right? So giving back to community is always a plus point, which will be increasing your reputation and which will be having a widespread network of yours through which you can collect the threat intelligence, right? So that is your 6 points through which you can overall improve the security of your organization. There are a number of points, but I have included like the major 6 points which can be useful for your organization. All right, just like little bit more theory, guys, and then we will be more over toward talking towards the collection part. So before collection part, if I ask you guys a small thing, let's see how you guys are going to answer to that question. What are the websites where do you get the information about the breaches or latest hacking information? Anyone, any idea? If I ask you guys to check about the attacks which are happened in November 2020, what will be the sources you guys will be using? The answers which I received mostly are your open source intelligence platforms, right? Or like open source websites where you will be collecting those information. Now, what if I say that you need not to go anywhere, you can subscribe to some feeds and those will be giving you the information directly to your system, right? So would that be a good approach or not? It will be, of course, a good approach, right? Where you will be able to collect the information, like feeds will be there. Once you subscribe, those are giving you the feeds. Absolutely. So once we discuss this CTI, that is your threat intelligence life cycle, we will be talking about. So this threat intelligence life cycle is your entire CTIA. You guys can have it in a short form. If you are aware about this entire cycle, that is your entire CTIA. Just very depth in detail, we will be discussing it in our CTIA program, right? So when I talk about CTI life cycle, it starts from very first, very starting, right? It's your iterative cycle, right? It always goes around. When it starts from planning direction, it goes around feedback, and then it will be again coming back to your planning direction, right? It starts from planning, collection, processing, analysis, dissemination, feedback, and then again feedback goes around to planning and direction, right? So it will be your iterative process which will be collecting the raw data and its conversion into useful intelligence, right? That will be part of your CTI. How it will be directing you towards the starting from understanding why do you need threat intel for your organization, when you should collect, what you should collect, how you will be collecting, from where you will be collecting. Once then you collect, you process, you analyze to make it an actionable intelligence, right? Then sharing the same with your TI consumers. When we talk about TI consumer and then taking feedback from them. So when we talk about TI consumers, right? There are different types of TI consumers. Mostly, generally in some websites, some books, you will be seeing three of them. Actually, there are four, right? We start with strategic, then we go around with tactical, then there is operational, and then there is technical. Mostly in websites, you will be seeing just these three only, not technical one. But all these four types of are the consumers of your TI. You will be collecting threat intel for these four departments. Strategic, it includes your CISO people, right? All the C-level people, CEO, CTO, CISO, all of these people will be over here. So you will be collecting threat intelligence for strategic people on basis of which they will be able to take the decisions, right? So that will be your strategic threat intelligence. All right. From where you will be collecting these type of threat intelligence, maybe from some websites, some chat rooms, or some news press websites. So these kind of information will be giving them the fair enough idea that either they need to implement the controls or not, right? Either so decision making for the organization, intelligence which will be part for decision making for the organization will be part of your strategic threat intel, right? Then you do have tactical. So over here you mainly talk about TTPs. Your attacker is going to attack, what kind of tools, how they will be collecting tools, and what kind of techniques do they use. All of these parts will be your tactical threat intelligence, right? Operational threat intelligence for will be for a very specific kind of threat. Let's say it's just for maze ransomware. You are collecting the threat intel which you are implementing and you are stopping the attack for getting the reward. That is your operational threat intelligence, where you are collecting the threat intel which is preventing your day-to-day operations for your organization. So these kind of information will be moreover collected by your security managers, or I would say threat intelligent managers, right? And then you do have technical. So over here you will be submitting your IOCs. What so all technical data you will be collecting, IP addresses, URLs and everything will be consumed by your technical consumers. So your technical consumers will be including your forensic analyst, your threat intelligence officer, SOC analyst. All these peoples will be part of your technical consumers, right? So these are the four types of consumers for your threat intel, right? You will be discussing them in your course in very much detail, and you will be hearing them multiple times throughout your session. When we talk about threat intel, the very first stage starts with planning and direction. So when we start with planning and direction, it is the very first stage of your TI life cycle, right? So it is all about setting your goals, right? What you need accordingly, what your core values of your organization will be determining the goals. One example I will be giving over here would be, first of all, you need to find out who is going to attack you, right? Let's say there is a small company which is not having that much of data or neither popular. So would there be a hacker group which will be attacking that organization? No one knows that organization. That is very small organization. Would there be a hacker group which will be attacking that organization? A professional hacker group? No, right? And what if there is a very big company, let's say Big Four, which is very popular, having n number of finances and n number of security? Would there be a hacker group which will be attacking that organization? Of course, hacker group will be attacking those organizations, right? So, what kind of threat actor would attack that small organization which I talked about in earlier example?
Script kiddies
Absolutely. Script kiddies can be the person who might
might
attack.
be.
Again, like there should be a purpose for hacktivists to attack that organization. They won't be seeing the big or small. They will be attacking it.
Yeah.
But one of the points which we can say will be your hacktivist, right? Sorry, will be your script kiddies, which will be attacking that small organization to test their skills or just for fun purpose or any other reason, right? So these things you will be finding accordingly, because every organization will be having different kinds of assets, right? When I explained you guys about the assets, that organization is not having data and everything, that means I have given you about the core brief structure of the organization. So accordingly, you guys have decided that who will be attacking them and who won't be, right? You will be first of all analyzing your entire valuable assets, let's say credit card information, financial account information, confidential business information. You will be having all those information. You will be seeing that what kind of people might get attracted to these information, for whom it will be useful, what kind of adversaries may attack your organization or your data, in which field you are. That will be part of your planning and direction, right? The next part goes around the collection. So collection is your second stage, which involves like data collection and gathering. So you will be collecting data from various sources, few of them which you guys have mentioned in chat, right? Alien Vault, OTX, MISP. You will be using multiple various sites, right? Or maybe platforms like Hacker News. You do have IBM X Force. You do have Recorded Future. You do have Threat Miner, Threat Connect. Multiple of them are there. Virus Total, AnyRun, Malware Bazaar. Multiple types of websites are there through which you can collect the information or data, right? So it will be, collection will be part of gathering the data from various sources. Like you can collect it from internal. All those you guys have mentioned are from external. Internally, if I have deployed honeypots, right, I can also collect the information from honeypots as well, isn't it? I can also collect information from scanners which are available on my network, isn't it? So it will be including the personal data or addresses, IP addresses, or some text messages from social medias. Maybe some attacker group was on social media was talking about some kind of campaign they are going to launch or run. So accordingly, you guys will be keeping yourself alert, right? So that is part of collection. The next part basically which comes is process. The third stage, processing. So data you have collected in point two, that is your step two, collection. Now you will be processing that data. Yeah, right. So your data is stored, your data is organized, and then it is being converted into useful information, right? So that is your processing stage, right? Where you do collect, analyze, store, and convert that data into useful information. That is known as your processing part, right? Organization might receive terabytes of data, isn't it? Like if I ask you guys, let's say there is a maze, this particular WannaCry ransomware. You need to collect data for WannaCry ransomware. If you guys are having like 100 websites, you will be going through all those 100 websites and collecting data from all those 100 websites, right? So it will be a chunk of data which can be either in a very huge size, which will be making it impossible for a human to process, right? So for that, we do have various different solutions. Anyone, any idea what kind of solutions can be used? So overall, can I say a SIM solution can be useful because it understands the machine language, right? So if that particular terabytes of data, chunk of data, if I provide to the SIM solution, they will be making it very easy and efficient for us to analyze or to process that particular large amount of data. Absolutely, Splunk, multiple types of like SIM solutions are there which can be useful. Alien Vault, USM, Splunk, and then we do have QRadar. We do have multiple of them which can be useful, right? So that is the part of processing where you are implementing your data collection into a SIM solution, right? Then the next stage which comes is your analysis. So what happens in analysis is, in this stage all the analyzed information, all the information will be analyzed, right? Earlier the data was being analyzed, now information is going to be analyzed. It will be interpreted and then it will be converted into actionable intelligence, right? Now what is actionable intelligence? Let's say there were IP addresses, right? Now you segregated those IP addresses according to your organization's assets and threats, right? Which might appear, which you have studied earlier, and then you are your SIM tool has basically got an alert on those kind of tools, right? Those kind of IP addresses. Now your SIM has already got an alert on those kind of IP addresses. Then what you will be doing with those type of IP addresses, the alerts are being raised. That means those threat actors are communicating to your network, right? So you do have multiple options. You can block those, you can divert them to honeypots, you can divert them to sinkholes, black holes, through which you can collect more information about them, right? That is known as your counterintelligence, where you are deploying something to which attackers are coming, luring, and then stop, like you are collecting the intelligence from those attackers. That is part of your analysis. So you are doing everything which through on the basis of which you can do the important decisions for your organization, right? For against any kind of potential threat, or let's say you got to know that there is a security control which needs to be implemented, right? So when there is a security control which needs to be implemented, what you will be doing is you will be able to take, with the help of your threat intelligence, you will be able to conclude that whether you need to purchase that security control or not, isn't it? So that's how analysis will be helping you out. So guys, that was part of your analysis. The next part goes around your dissemination. Now what is dissemination? Dissemination means sharing, right? Now as we already mentioned that we will be sharing our project, or we will be sharing our entire threat intel to various different consumers, right? Strategic, technical, tactical, operational. So it will be going around that not just like these people, you can also share the data to your community as well, right? So you can also share the data to your community. For that you will be needing a protocol which is being used in your threat intelligence, that is your TLP, traffic light protocol. Now, what is this traffic light protocol? So this is the protocol which decides that whether the threat intelligence which you have collected can be shared or not. Whether the threat intel can be shared to public, whether the threat intel can be shared to community, whether the threat intel can be shared to the organization, or whether the threat intel needs to be between 1 or 2% only, right? So that will be decided by your traffic light protocols. As the name suggests, there are different lights: red, white, green, yellow, red, white, green, and amber. So these four lights decides the sharing of your entire TLP, right? So dissemination is process of sharing, right? So all the intelligence which you have collected, you will be sharing on the basis of the protocol to the right at the right time to the right people, right? Will be helping you in like keeping the track of your previous stages so that continuity also remains in your threat intelligence sharing, right? Let's say if you are having a account on Alien Vault OTX, right? A website, Alien Vault OTX. So you can also share your samples over there as well, right? You can become the author, you can collect your threat intel, and you can share your own threat intel over there as well, right? So whenever you are sharing the intel, you will be always seeing this traffic like protocols for sure. So after dissemination, you do have the next one, that is your feedback. So feedback is very important, as after today's class as well, even I will be taking feedback. Why? To improve myself, right? So why we do take the feedbacks? It is a very crucial stage which mostly the people do discard, right? But it should not happen. People should not discard this particular stage. Reason being, it is very crucial in order to improve your entire threat intelligence platform, right? So if you will be having a proper feedback, you will be able to understand your weak points in your threat intel platform, and you will be able to correct that threat intel platform, right? So all the reviews of your like, you will be able to basically do the gap analysis, like for what specific reasons you have started your TI platform and up till what level you have reached. Let's say you have decided this level, but you have only reached up till this level. So your feedback will be helping you know at which level you are, right? So you will be doing gap analysis and you will be making sure to reach this level at next time. So that is your feedback. All right. The next part, guys, how to collect the threat intel. There are multiple various sources. Few of the sources which I have mentioned below, which I personally use also, and I do recommend as well for collecting the threat intelligence sources, right? And on the right hand side, you guys can see a pyramid-like structure. This is the pyramid-like structure. This pyramid-like structure is what we called as pyramid of pain. Now what exactly this pyramid of pain is, it mentions from all the different types of TTPs, right? Like IOCs can be in form of TTPs, they can be in form of tools, network host artifacts, domain names, IP addresses, and hash values, right? So pyramid of pain basically represent the types of indicators that we will be looking, right? Types of indicators that we will be looking to detect the activities of an adversary. So to detect the hash value of our adversary, it's very easy. IP address is also very easy, right? Domain names, it's simple, maybe annoying for network host artifacts. Tools will be very challenging, that what exact tool they have used, right? And TTPs, that means the tactics, techniques, procedures used by attacker, it will be very tough, right? And we have to give more and more efforts accordingly, right? So the bottom IOC on the bottom, that means trivial IOC, that is your hash value, it will be having very less impact on the adversary because they will be keep changing the files. If you collect the hash values, they wouldn't be affecting your adversaries, right? Like let's say you have collected a hash value of a file, next time they have just to change file and they will be easily able to enter your system. So it won't be affecting your adversary. But when you, let's say, collect the IOC which is on top, that is your TTP, it will be having a very huge impact on your attacker or on your adversary. Why it will be having very huge impact on your attacker? Because you have collected that attacker's techniques, procedures. That means entire working and pattern of that attackers you have collected, and it will be having huge impact on them. But you have to implement more and more resources and efforts for collecting the TTPs. TTPs are very hard to collect, but will be giving you the highest reward. And hash values are very easy to collect and will be giving you the least reward, right? So that is what we call pyramid of pain. There are different types of IOCs. Over here they have mentioned six type of IOCs which are being arranged in increasing order, like increasing the impact on the adversary and the efforts on the analyst accordingly, right? So that is your pyramid of pain. So as you guys see, you have collected different hash values over here, right? For a particular threat. Now, what if I have asked you guys to collect the TTPs or the tools being used by this particular malware, right? So would that be the same as much as easy which it is for you? Hashes are for you? It will be, of course, pretty much difficult, right? It will be requiring multiple efforts, and that is how your pyramid of pain is being justified, right? For people who are already working, it won't be that much difficult, but those who are like, it will be, of course, if you compare whether it is an experienced person or whether it's a knowledgeable person, right? Collecting the hashes and collecting the TTPs will be always, it will be requiring more efforts as compared to hashes, right? So that is your pyramid of pain. The next part, which I on the right hand side, the points which I have mentioned, these are your websites through which you can collect the threat intel. Alienvault OTX, MISP project, Threat Connect, Threat Cloud, Exports Exchange, Threat Stream, MITRE attack. All these are the websites through which you can collect all these 6 types of IOCs. All right. So now we will be talking practically how we can collect an IOC, right? All those who have like used this Alienvault OTX and all those who haven't, for you guys can create one account. You guys can create your account over here, and once you create your account, you will be having your dashboard something like this, right? So if you see guys over here, visualization of malware clusters. So over here, if I visualize the malwares by category, these are all the IOCs for worms, these are the IOCs for backdoor, these are the IOCs for Trojan, these are the IOCs for Bitcoin miner, right? So multiple different IOCs are available over here, right? Let's say I go for banker as a Trojan spy for banker. Also, if you guys see, these are the IOCs from last 24 hours only. If I go want to go for last 30 days, I can also go for that. It's taking little bit of time, but it will be loading all the pulses. Let's say for Bitcoin miner, it has loaded all the pulses over here. Now pulses are what? Pulses are your thread feeds, right? Let's say I open this particular pulse. So it's your one of the IOCs for Bitcoin miner with the name of Small Business Edition Cloud Console, right? So what kind of IOCs they are having? They are having SSL certificates, they are having domains, they are having 1030 URLs, they are having 189 host name and 256 SHA 256 file hashes, which are of 436 number. So all these are the IOCs which they have collected. Now, if I take any of these IOCs and I put it in my SIM tool and I write a rule in my SIM tool to alert me every time they get this IOC. So if my system will be having a Bitcoin miner with this particular indicator, it will be alerting my system, right? So that is your IOCs, how you will be using that. Now, since like there are overall, if you see for this particular pulse on from this particular pulse only, there are 1887 IOCs, right? Since there are 1887 IOCs, how I can download all of them together? Can you see this download button? I do have multiple formats. So various websites are having various different types of formats. When these formats you download from different websites, you need to gather all these formats into a particular form, right? Let's say a CSV is a common format which you need to download. You can download it from CSV, but some websites might not offer you CSV. So for those websites, what you will be doing is you will be collecting the threat intel in, let's say, sticks format, and then later on converting it into CSV format, right? So you can download it from here. You can even subscribe to this Pulse, and how subscription will be helping you to automate this stuff where you do not have to download. You have subscribed. Later on, if a Pulse gets removed or gets updated, you will be automatically able to update your system with those pulses, right? Your SIM tool will be able to do that on its own. Now, how your SIM tool will be able to do? Because of integration. Can you see, guys, API integration? So you can integrate your SIM tool using to your Suricata IDS, to your Bro IDS, to your Alienvault USM. There are direct agents available for them, right? Like for OSSIM, for USM, Taxi, your direct agents are available. You can use these SDK as well. right? So you can connect, you do have your key for your account. Once you connect all the subscriptions which you have subscribed, the feeds will be directly going to those of from those subscription to your sim tools, and your sim tools will be working on that data and will be alerting your system once those IOCs are being found. All right, if you guys see over here TLP, so every website will be having this TLP, and there will be a color of TLP which will be deciding whether it is to be shared or not, right? If you, let's say, download in CSV, right? So this will be a CSV format. So once you click on download, a CSV file will be downloaded, right? And it will be having your, let me show you over here itself. So you do have all the URLs, domains, host wise, they have mentioned over here, then file hashes, right? This is how your URLs are, like everything will be downloaded. If you are talking about like all the different formats, the one tab for URL, the one tab for algorithm hashes, or the one tab for domain names, the one tab for host names, not like that. It will be just like in the form these IOCs are being collected. Like when I publish this particular pulse, let's say I have only published up till 60, then I got to know that all more like 98 or more over there, right? Then I collected them. Then I collected them. Then various people added to these IOCs, right? So that is how these things are being arranged, right? And accordingly, these are being updated, right? You will be having the type of indicator and the indicator. Not it will not be segregated on the types of indicators. So mostly people do subscribe to these kind of feeds and then integrate the sim solutions, right? So you do have Alien World OTX. There is one more website that is your Blue Live. If you guys might have heard about it. Over here also you have to create an account. The IOCs I'm sharing now, they are from internet. They are from external sources published by someone else. So in Blue Live also, once you like sign in, you will be having very similar interface, right? You do have your sandbox over here. It also gives you a sandbox environment to analyze or run your malware. Just upload a file. It will be checking whether this particular Blue Leaf community is having any kind of IOC for that particular file or not, right? Similar to your, I would say, OTX. And then you do have Discover, right? Discover is having trending sparks. So Trickbot gains persistence with access to UEFI or BIOS, right? And different types of latest, I would say, threat feeds are there, right? So when I click on this one, Trickbots, I do have different IOCs for Trickbot, right? I can collect these IOCs in these formats, right? And then I can use all those formats. So on the basis of tags as well, let's say I want to just search for malware, I can use this blue live on the basis of tags. And they are also having their map, which is a very good visualization of the attacks, live attacks going on. Again, those are not actually the real attacks, but a good visualization of these kind of attacks will be helping you to understand that where exactly the more attacks are going and coming from. So you can always use your signatures for like geolocations in your IDS IPS to detect if any kind of like random and major communications are being received from these locations, right? So there are multiple various different threat maps. Blue Live is also one of them. Then you do also have virus total. Everyone knows about virus total. You just search for a file and it will be giving you that particular file. If I just let's say have a file name, I do select a hash from here. Let's see if we are able to find this hash in virus total. It says that no engine detected this file as malware. Maybe no traces yet being given to this particular file hash, but your OTX is still showing. Let's say in OTX, I search for one worm. Okay, my bad. So over here now, if you see, 55 engines have detected it as a threat. The file is of 4 KB of size. It's a portable executable file, and if you go to details, all these are the properties of your file: MD5 hash, SHA1, 256 hash, V hash. File type is your portable executable, and it's of 4096 bytes. These are the names through which it generally gets propagated: test.txt, wikibom.exe. Then mostly target machines are this. These are the files which it does import. These are the registries which it does uses. Right. So details you can find out like this. You do have like the URLs it does contacts are these URLs. Right. Behavior analysis. So since it's a very known malware, so behavioral analysis is also being done. That means the dynamic analysis, right? So you can see the entire request it is making, the files it is creating, the files it is deleting, the registries which is opening, registries which is deleting. Everything is being detailed and explained over here on virus total. So if you have a hash, you can always give it a try to virus total for finding that information about your threat. All right. And after virus total, you do have hybrid analysis as well, which is a very good website. Plus, you do have after threat connect is also there. Threat miner is there. Right. So over here, I have given you guys multiple list of like websites which you can use to collect the information about your threat, right? This entire list, and using this list only, like I've shown you Alienwall OTX and couple of them which are not inside the list, right? So now I will be giving you guys one small task on basis of this list, right? And then I will be myself doing that particular task and showing the people who are not able to do that. Alright guys, now let me show you how we can like find out these kind of IUCs, right? So I want all of you guys to join the screen. Over here, all I've done is just went through Alienwall OTX, and over here there is a search option, right? In search option I've just typed Stantinko and I've searched about it, right? And so far OTX has given me 183 different types of indicators, right? So what I can do is I can select any of the indicator and I can move to a different website. Since like the file name is not only thing which will be helping us, we need a file hash, right? Let's say I went through virus total again, right? And I search for this hash. It gives me further more detail, right? It gives me the entire details and information about the file, right? Similarly, I do have hybrid analysis as well. I do have blue live with me, right? If I search, it does not show us any result. Anyways, hybrid analysis, if we go for, let's say, hash search, no results for hybrid analysis as well. That is the issue which I wanted to show you guys with open source. Like on some websites you will be having the information, but on some you might not have. It's not the issue which you will be having, but the issue goes around that how you will be verifying these IOCs, right? So for that particular verification, you always go with the profile of the publisher, right? So like Alien Vault themselves are publishing these pulses, right? Profile is it's the profile of Alien Vault, which is having good number of subscribers and stats. You will be always seeing their stats, and using those stats you will be relying upon these kind of IOCs. It's not like that you will be selecting the IOC from anyone who does not have even like a good profile or does not have current running pulses. Like they are having current running pulses of 3014, which is a massive number, right? So you do have websites again, as I mentioned, Thread Connect is there, Thread Crowd is there, Exports Exchange is there, MITRE attack. Have you guys tried MITRE attack, any of you, for this Stantinko? So that Stantinko malware, guys, it was using tactic as your persistence and browser extension as your technique, right? So that is how you collect. It won't be every time that much easy that you just search over there and you will be getting it. You have to understand the behavioral analysis of your file or your malware, right? Like on virus total, and then you will be able to do the practice. And you once, like, if you are not able to find it on MITRE, you will be like understanding how does it goes, whether it talks goes to communicate to any URL or not, and then only you will be able to find the information as a TTP for that particular malware, right? So guys, that was your entire topics, major topics which we have to cover in our today's session for like importance of threat intelligence with CTIA. And all those who want to enroll in CTIA, you can go to InfosecTrain's website. So glad to see you guys. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Good night. Good day.